So I'd like to thank everyone here for joining our first virtual meeting today for the Draft Light Rail Community Zone um, regulations. So I'm Matthew Siddons. I'm Senior Planner and Project Lead, and I'm here with Michael Saponaro, a Senior Planner, and Jennifer Cow, a Planner. And both of us or all of us, sorry, are in long-range planning with Snohomish County. And we'd just like to take an opportunity to give everyone here an update on the new draft light rail community zone regulations that we have been working on. Just to start off, I'd just like to give kind of a Zoom presentation protocol overview. So we'll start off the presentation today, just talking about the draft light rail community zone, go through the presentation. And then at the end, we'll have an opportunity to answer any questions. So at the time, you can raise your hand if you have any questions, and you can also use the Q&A function for questions. Just to kind of give an update, so this is a presentation agenda for today. So we have our welcome and our agenda overview. We'll just have a quick update on Sound Transit's Everett Link extension, and then we'll talk about background on light rail community planning that Snohomish County has undertaken in the last few years. And we'll also talk about the light rail community zone regulations. And we'll kind of finish off, talk about public outreach and submitting comments. So this first section talks about an update for Sound Transit and the Everett Link extension. So as part of the Everett Link extension, 16 new miles of light rail and 6 new stations are being proposed. So the Everett Link extension would connect from Lindenwood City Center to downtown Everett through unincorporated Snohomish County. So within unincorporated Snohomish County, there's 3 light rail stations that are proposed, one at Ashway and one at Mariner, and a 3rd station that's at the intersection of Highway 99 Airport Road. This 3rd station is provisional, that's funding dependent. In terms of timeframes, light rail trains are tentatively looking at operations in Snohomish County stations in 2037. And currently, Sound Transit is in the planning stages for the draft environmental impact statement. So they're kind of working through the environmental impact statement, but Sound Transit won't be making a final decision on the final station locations and alignments until about 2027. With that, Sound Transit's also been working on a model code partnership, which is a transit-oriented development pilot project. So this is between Sound Transit, Snohomish County, and the cities of Everett and Linwood. So we're working together to develop a toolkit of land use design and guidelines that could be implemented around light rail station areas that are located in the Everett Link extension. And the timeline is to have the toolkit completed in early 2025, so this year. And I'd like to give kind of an update on some of the backgrounds in light rail planning that the community's undertaken. So 2016, voters approved the Sound Transit 3 ballot measure. And in 2018 to 2019, the county initiated its light rail communities work. From 2020 to 2021, the county also initiated its light rail communities public outreach. So that included several in-person workshops as well as some virtual open houses just to gain kind of feedback from the community about the preferences for light rail and design of these areas around the light rail. In 2022 to 2024, the county worked on the comprehensive plan update, which included adding in a new urban core sub-area plan element. And in 2024 to 2025, we've been involved with creating our light rail community zone. So just to give an update on our comprehensive plan, so on December 4th, 2024, County Council adopted 11 ordinances associated with the comprehensive plan update. And these new comprehensive plan updates came into effect on December 22nd, 2024. As part of the new comprehensive plan includes several different sub-elements, and one of them includes our new urban core sub-area plan element. So the urban core sub-area plan element is for the southwest urban unincorporated area of Snohomish County. So this is between the cities of Everett, Mill Creek, Linwood, and Mukilteo. So this is the area of the county receiving future light rail transit service. The comprehensive plan and the sub-area plan provide the policy frameworks for future land use and changes. And it also includes the new light rail community future land use destination that we're looking at adding. So to kind of provide an overview of the urban core sub-area plan element and its vision statement. Vision statement really is for the sub-area plan to create a complete community that meets the needs of the people who live, work, and recreate in the area. The light rail station areas will serve as activity nodes for the community and will include commercial, residential, and public uses. Public spaces in these station areas will serve as gathering places for residents. And a variety of housing forms will be available to provide options for all residents of all income levels and needs. Within the urban core sub-area plan as well, it talks about parks and open spaces in subsection 8. So this map here shows potential acquisition areas for parks and open spaces. That's kind of based on walkshed distances. Sub-area plan also includes policies that supports parks near light rail stations, as well as a section that talks about open spaces and amenities around light rail stations and for the public to use. The urban core sub-area plan also includes some displacement policies, as light rail is a major infrastructure investment and will be a catalyst for change in the area. So potentially some of these changes could impact existing residences and businesses in this area. And the sub-area plan includes policies to mitigate the impact potential of potential displacement coming from light rail. So within our section 5, so that talks about land use, that section has policies about creating spaces for small businesses and preserving spaces for existing community groups within the sub-area. Subsection 6 includes policies that talks about including supporting inclusionary housing and increasing affordable housing supply within the sub-area. And subsection 10 on economic development talks about supporting opportunities and programs for local businesses in the area. With that, I'd like to kind of move on now to the draft light rail community zone regulations itself and do a delve into these regulations. So the light rail community zone is proposed around the planned light rail stations at Ashway, Mariner, and Airport Road, Highway 99. So generally, the zone is being proposed around the half-mile radius of the station areas. And so this is typically within the walkshed distance of someone walking from a station to the outside edge of this zone boundary. And it's approximately about a 10-minute walk. The light rail community zone supports high-density residential, pedestrian-oriented commercial, and community service uses. Also within the light rail community zone boundaries, as you can see here, it's generally within the half-mile radius of the planned station locations. And as I kind of mentioned earlier, Sound Transit is still deciding on the final station locations and alignments, and the Sound Transit Board probably won't make a decision about until 2027. So potentially in the future, we might see some of these light rail community zone boundaries shift depending on the final station locations and alignments. But the readjustment of those boundaries would be done as part of a future comprehensive plan update and updates to our future land use map. So this slide here talks about the intent of the light rail community zone and kind of gives an overview of the zone. So intent and function of light rail community zone is to provide a zoning within the urban core sub-area plan, generally within a half-mile of existing or planned light rail stations that supports high-density residential, commercial, office, and community service uses that are pedestrian and transit-oriented and facilitate active forms of transportation that include walking and cycling. This table shows some of the main code sections being amended. So this kind of provides a breakdown of each of the sections. So within our code, section 30.21.20 This talks about the establishments of zones, the intent of the zones. Some other main sections include sections 30.24.070, which talks about access to road network requirements. Another important section 2 is section 30.25.016, and section 30.25.031, which talk about tree canopy requirements and additional landscaping requirements. Also within the zones, too, we have sections 30.26.030. And these sections here at the bottom talk about parking space requirements, light rail community zone development parking, and bicycle parking. So some other kind of sections that we're proposing to amend as well include section 30.27.040 on signage. Section 30.28.072 talks about non-conforming uses. And also we're proposing some new sections to our general development standards. So that includes section 30.23B, which talks about new mandatory inclusionary housing regulations that we're looking at bringing in that would apply to both the light rail community zone as well as our mixed use corridor zone. And we're also proposing to bring in section 30.23C, which is general development standards. And these ones will apply to amenity areas and amenity area design regulations for the light rail community zone. Section 30.35A, 80 and 100. These sections are regards to transfer development rights for receiving areas and for credits. And as well, we're also looking at introducing 18 new definitions as part of this light rail community zone updates. So these new definitions are regards to architectural designs and features, as well as some other elements. This section here kind of gives a breakdown of light rail community zone itself and kind of each of the different sections. So section 3031H.10 talks about purpose and applicability. Then section 0.020 talks about the bulk regulations. So this includes building heights and dwelling unit densities. Section 35 talks about maximum block lengths. Section 40 talks about access to light rail station and transit stops. Now, and then section 50 to 130, these sections are regards to design standards, different design standards that the light rail community zone development will need to meet. Section 140 talks about green building development. Section 150 is in regards to signs. Section 160 is in regards to wayfinding signage. And sections 170 to 200, those sections are in regards to approvals, expiration of approvals, and revisions to plans. This slide here kind of shows a breakdown of the design standard sections. So section 50 talks about architectural materials. Section 60 talks about ground floor design and treatments. Section 70 talks about architectural features that apply to all buildings. Section 80 is regard to architectural features for buildings between 3 to 8 stories. Section 90 talks about architectural features for buildings that are 9 stories and higher, so high-rise buildings. Section 100 talks about architectural features for developments on corner sites. Section 110 talks about screening for loading and service areas. Section 120 talks about lighting, and section 130 talks about above ground parking structures. So this can include surface parking as well as parking garages. Now this slide here, we're talking about proposed bulk regulations for light rail community zone. So in terms of the bulk regulations, we're looking at having no maximum building height. In terms of building height minimums, buildings must have a minimum height of 30 feet, and the minimum height of buildings with residential units is 3 stories. Also within the zone, we're looking at no maximum density limitations for dwelling units, and having a minimum net residential density of 50 units per acre. So in terms of the bulk regulations we're proposing, it allows for greater flexibility in unit designs and will also help accommodate mandatory inclusionary housing units. So with the increasing building height and allowing more density within this area, there's more flexibility in terms of the types of housing units that can be provided, kind of the layout of these units and the size of the buildings. This will help accommodate more housing opportunities within the light rail community zone, as these areas are closest to future transit. So with the future light rail lines, as well as some of the bus rapid transit lines that run through this area as well. So this is kind of the area of the county where we have the most services available for residents. Within the proposed inclusionary housing regulations, so we're proposing mandatory inclusionary housing. So this will apply to developments of 5 or more units. So at least 15% of the proposed units in new residential developments must be affordable. So this is defined as total housing costs not exceeding 30% of a household's gross income. To low-income households, defined as households with incomes that are less than 60% of the HUD area median income. And these units are to remain affordable for a minimum of 50 years as provided in a recorded covenant running with the lands. We're also proposing off-site inclusionary housing regulations. So the priority is to achieve affordable housing on-site, but the design director may consider alternative requests. So for example, affordable housing units must be of the same type and tenure as the ones being constructed. And affordable housing units may be provided off-site, but within proximity to employment opportunities or to transit services. So this might be in terms of a development where inclusionary housing can't be included on-site. That could be included in another development within the urban core sub-area, but the housing units need to be of the same type and tenure of what was being proposed. And they also need to be in close proximity to transit services as well as employment opportunities. For the proposed amenity area regulations, so we're proposing that non-residential developments are to provide 2% of gross floor area in amenity area. Residential developments are to provide 100 square feet of amenity area per unit, and mixed-use developments are to provide 2% of gross floor area and 100 square feet per unit of amenity area. The regulations also include that outdoor amenity areas are to include outdoor seating, overhead weather protection, and landscaping. And developments of 75 units or more to provide one active recreational amenity. So this could include a play structure, pay fields, other active uses. As well as regulations support pocket parks and plazas that are encouraged on vacant lands and right-of-ways. In terms of the proposed parking regulations, there's some regulations being proposed in these different sections. So section 30 here talks about number of spaces required. And then we're looking at introducing section 31 as well. So this talks about transit service and minimum parking requirements for multifamily housing. So these regulations are regards to new state requirements, regards to the amount of housing that can be provided for multifamily residential developments that are near mass rapid transit services. So that includes light rail as well as bus rapid transit. We're also looking at proposing section 37 here, which talks about additional parking regulations for the light rail community zone. So that section looks at reducing the required off-street parking requirements that are required for developments in light rail community zone, as well as introducing maximums of parking that can be constructed on sites. Section 38 here talks about bicycle and micromobility device parking in the light rail community zone. And section 130 talks about design standards for above grade parking structures. So this includes requiring that any surface parking is located at the back, at the rear, or at the sides of developments, not at the front, that parking is encouraged underground, or that parking in parking structures is located at the rear sites. So this table here kind of shows the proposed parking regulations and does kind of a comparison of, for example, in the first section talks about residential categories. So in most of the county's zones, we require 2 parking stalls per dwelling for multifamily developments. And within the new light rail community zone, we're looking at having a minimum parking stall requirement of only half a stall per unit and a maximum of 2 stalls per unit. So this would allow for a reduction of on-site parking spaces for multifamily residential developments, as well as parking reductions for other uses. So as you can see here, for restaurants, there's a reduction in the amount of parking required for parking for restaurants compared to other land uses and for general retail uses. For transfer of development rights, so under section 80 here, all areas zoned as light rail community zone are designated as transfer development right receiving areas. So with that, there's an incentive of 5% reduction of total amenity area required for multifamily residential developments in the light rail community zone. And the 5% reduction in total amenity area required for multifamily residential developments in the light rail community zone is a TDR credit for receiving areas designated as either farmland or as non-farmland in rural areas. Now I'd like to kind of move on to a section about public outreach and submitting comments. So the goal for public outreach is to hear from the community, from residents, business owners, and community groups. And we'd just like to give an opportunity for people to provide comments and feedback on the draft light rail community zone regulations. So for example, this can include certain sections, certain regulations that people are supportive of, or sections or regulations that might need to be amended or changed. And as part of our goal too, we'd like to continue our outreach and engagement with the community on light rail planning in Snohomish County. For light rail community zone resources, we have a lot of resources available on the county's webpage, particularly our light rail communities webpage, which includes information on light rail community zone and several supporting documents. So on our webpage, we have drafts available of draft light rail community zone regulations. We have an online survey that people can submit feedback on. Survey takes about 5 minutes to complete. It has a mix of multiple choice and open-ended questions. We also have maps of the proposed light rail community zone areas. We also have a section summary table, which kind of summarizes each of the sections that are being proposed to be amended. We also have a summary sheet that just provides an overview and a Q&A sheet for light rail community zone, as well as a project flyer. So for providing comments on the light rail community zone, the public comment period is from February 1st to March 14th. So comments can be submitted by email to our general long-range planning account, as well as to myself directly. Feedback can also be submitted through our online survey as well, which is linked here. And public comments on the draft light rail community zone can be submitted until Friday, March 14th, 2025. So this is just an outreach event schedule for events that we're looking at holding in regards to light rail community zone. So we were at the Mariner Future Fest on February 1st. Last Saturday, February 8th, we held an in-person design workshop for light rail community zone at Mariner High School. We're also holding the virtual meetings as well. So the one today, and then another one on February 27th at 6 p.m. In terms of light rail community zone project schedule, so from February 1st to March 14th is our public comment period for light rail community zone. After that period closes on March 14th, from March to April, we're going to be reviewing all the feedback that's been received on light rail community zone and making revisions. And in terms of timelines, we're looking at tentatively bringing forward the draft light rail community zone to our planning commission for briefing in June, and then following up in July on a tentative hearing at planning commission for light rail community zone regulations. And finally, kind of in the fall of 2025, we're looking at bringing this tentatively forward to our council for consideration. And with that, I'd just like to take the time, opportunity to see if anybody has any questions in regards to light rail community zones, in terms of the regulations or the timelines or any other materials.